Many first-person shooters hit the shelves and digital storefronts without making much of a bang, but these days the genre isn't quite as populated as it once was. And that has led to a small handful of games rising to the top by default. That said, it's still possible for breakout experiences to get noticed by doing their own thing and adding value to the genre. The rebooted Wolfenstein series has proven to be one of those success stories. Before we go ahead, a quick request. We upload new videos every single day, and your subscription matters a lot. So, please consider subscribing and enabling all notifications by clicking the bell icon. With that out of the way, let's begin. With two fantastic mainline games and a handful of high-quality DLC expansions, Wolfenstein has proven that it's back with a vengeance and has carved out a nice, sizable audience for itself with its new games. Of those two mainline games, though, I think most could probably agree that the second one is by far the better of the two. While there was nothing demonstrably wrong with the first one, in fact, it was rather good for what it was, Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus just knocked everything out of the park so much more that it's hard to not regard it as the superior of the two. So today let's take a closer look at it and see exactly why it hit so hard and continues to stand as an example of what all other first-person shooters should try to meet, at least in terms of overall quality. One of Wolfenstein 2's most prominent aspects is the open-ended nature of the gameplay. Generally speaking, you can play through the vast majority of Wolfenstein 2's large open levels in any way you want. While a lot of action games like to say that you can play through it stealthily or guns blazing, most action games clearly favor one strategy or the other throughout the majority of the experience. Wolfenstein 2 does no such thing though. The game is clearly invested in both strategies and makes both of them feel like they could be the entire game. Playing through stealthily while trying to stay unnoticed isn't just an action game where you kill people from behind. Guards have multiple states of alert, they can be evaded, and you can use the game's visual cues on screen to know how close you are to a potential combatant, and then plan your next movements accordingly. The other approach is, of course, handled just as well, with lots of enemy types that are incredibly aggressive and fun to overcome once you've mastered the weapons at your disposal and found the right strategy for any given area and any given enemy. Wolfenstein 2 takes that dual approach that a lot of action games say they have and actually executes it in a meaningful way, and empowers the player to complete the game in the way that they want, and have a fulfilling experience doing so. More often than not, the guns blazing approach is the one that I choose, and I think it probably makes the most sense within the context of the game, but given that the option is there to sneak around through the vast majority of it if you want, that brings a lot of value to the game, if for nothing else than for replayability where you can challenge yourself with doing levels a different way than you did the previous time. Another standout feature of Wolfenstein 2 is, of course, its presentation, both visually and audio-wise. This is another area that the first game didn't exactly do poorly with, but machine games have completely improved upon the first one in just about every conceivable way in this regard. Visual feedback from firing those powerful weapons into an enemy, triggering their death animations, and hearing all of the sound that goes along with that is incredibly visceral and sets a very high standard for the genre. Visuals are of course outstanding. Subtle reflections on metal surfaces and an ever-so-slight motion blur really adds to the immersion in Wolfenstein's world. But it's the more abrasive things you'll notice most. Insanely graphic stealth kill animations, sparks flying out of the barrels of the game's many guns, and Nazi blood splattering all over the environment are all sights to behold. An honest examination of Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus could not be done without acknowledging the game's excellently told story, though. It's a story that covers the topics that you would expect in this game, but it's done with a sense of self-awareness that doesn't ever step into lightheartedness, but it does stay away from ever getting too heavy for too long. While you could argue that this style of storytelling could undercut some of the more mature themes of Wolfenstein 2, I would argue it just serves to have a little more fun with those themes than all of the countless other first-person shooters you played usually would, which helps Wolfenstein 2 stand out that much more from the crowd. Even B.J. Blazkowicz himself, one of gaming's most intimidating and serious protagonists, is conveyed with a subtle sense of silliness, as his overtly aggressive exterior and style of dealing with things is often juxtaposed with the far more nuanced type of world that he inhabits now, compared to, say, the original Wolfenstein 3D. The game's characters are a pretty good range from our main character to his eclectic group of cohorts and, of course, a couple of prominent Nazi figures that you will be dealing with from time to time. No one character ever really misses a beat with their delivery, and that is thanks to the combined efforts of incredible writers, talented actors, and excellent direction through and through. It might not be the cast of characters that you expected, and it might not be the story that you expected from this sort of game, but the directions that the people who made this game have chosen are dedicated to fully, and seen through to the end, which is something that I would hope any reasonable person could at least respect. All in all, Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus is not one hell of a game because it did everything right. It's a hell of a game because it did what it wanted to do, and did it all with confidence and vision. From the varied level designs that allow you to mostly play whatever way you want, to the outstanding visual and audio presentation, to the outstanding story that goes above and beyond to deliver a meaningful, well-rounded experience, it's a game that cannot be missed. Odds are, if you are already a fan of the Wolfenstein franchise, then you have probably already played what is arguably the best game in the entire franchise, in Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus. But if for some reason you haven't played it yet, there's never been a better time than now to give one of the best first-person shooters of all time a shot, and see where you land with it. At the end of the day, it might not be for everybody, but it certainly is, without a doubt, one hell of a game. And that brings us to the end of the video. A quick request: we upload new videos every single day, and if you like what we're doing, please consider subscribing. It really helps us out. Also, don't forget to enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon so that you can receive daily video updates. Thanks for watching.